Hey everybody, this is my March reading wrap-up. I'm going to attempt this even though it's very windy and there's a lot of house construction going on in the neighborhood. So here we go. I read 7 books in the month of March. The first one is called Glow of the Everflame. It is an enemies to lovers trope written by Penn Cole. This is number 2 in a, I think, going to be 4-book series. So this is a fantasy romantasy. And there was only one scene that I found a little suggestive and it made me blush. So she has her whole world turned upside down. She walks the line, half one thing and half another, not completely home in either world now, struggling to know who to trust, worried about who she might endanger, and she's attracted to what she knows and distracted to the potential of what may come. So this is kind of a game of chess where it's fantastical politics going on and she has to make bargains and try to stay alive, and her mother is missing. So she is lacking the parental guidance that she once had. So this is a very fun, magical read, and I can't wait to get my hands on number 3. Next, I read a Christian fiction called Sensible Shoes. This had been on my TBR for quite a while, and this is the first of 4 in the series. It's a story about the spiritual journey by Sharon Garlow Brown. Hope I'm saying that right. Basically, it is 4 strangers who reluctantly arrive at a retreat center, and they learn to give each other mutual support as they are going through their personal revelations. And I highly recommend the read. Let me see if I can find the synopsis here. Sharon Garlow Brown tells the moving story of 4 strangers as they reluctantly arrive at a retreat center and find themselves drawn out of their separate stories of isolation and struggle and into a collective journey of spiritual practice, mutual support, and personal revelation. And I devoured this book in a day. The next book is Apprentice to the Villain. This is number 2 in the Assistant to the Villain series. And this is by Hannah Nicole Marrere. I'm not sure how to pronounce the last name. And this is number 2 of what I think is going to be a 3-book series. It's fantasy, romantasy, young adult. And I could totally picture somebody making this into a cartoon. Kind of like Minions, Groot. And it is comedic. I have to read. The advertisement at the beginning of the book says, there has been a disturbing increase in cheeriness, sprightly behavior, and overall optimism as of late. And there's just snark, a little bit of romance, and other than the occasional swear, it's a great story. And I'm looking forward to getting number 3 of that one. The next book I read is a nonfiction psychology type book. It's called Maybe You Should Talk to Someone by Lori Gottlieb. It is revolutionary in its candor, what it means to be human, and it's funny, kind of behind the scenes look at a psychologist who goes through her own crisis and then seeks out therapy. And I enjoyed it. There was a lot of funny things in there. The next book I read is called The Devil's Hand. It's number 4 in the Terminal List series by Jack Carr. I'm reading this series with my husband. It is a military political thriller, and this one was kind of all around a pandemic threat and was a little eerie to read after the COVID-19 pandemic stuff. So my March bookshelf challenge word was time. So this next book satisfied that. It is called Some Other Time by Angela Brown, and it is kind of a Groundhog's Day type scenario, and it had so many great quotes, so bear with. So the book was about a woman who is coming to the empty nest phase of life and kind of going through a midlife crisis. And she is processing whether she wants to continue her marriage or call it quits. And there were some great quotes about love and marriage. At one point, one of the characters asked, well, why would you get married? And the quote says, because in a world where everything is always changing, sweetheart, Frank says, where nothing is certain, sometimes it's nice to have at least one thing that feels constant. To know that wherever you are in life, wherever your journey might take you, when you have this other person at your side, you'll always feel like you're at home. And I like that. Another quote, If you want something too much and then work and sacrifice too hard for it, you're selfish. If you don't want anything exclusively for yourself, you lack aspirations. Kind of like a damned if you do, damned if you don't quote. Her daughter was pretty adamant about going off to college and then seems to have a change of heart. And she said, sometimes you can make a big impact close to home. Another quote about that is, people get all wrapped up in the notion that their life has to be so big, so earth-shattering, that they forget how significant a simple and quiet life can be too. How meaningful love and commitment are in such an unpredictable world. At one point she's looking at her daughter and she said she was seeing a hybrid of who she used to be and who she's still busy becoming. And that just hit home for me because I have 3 kids and they are growing up way too fast. And when I look at them, I can still see the toddler dancing in their diaper and singing to me on their picnic table, and now they're driving and looking at college, and it's just crazy how fast that time goes. All right, enough of that sentimental stuff. All right, the last book I read aloud to my kids. It's called Your New Playlist. It's by John Acuff, Ellie Acuff, and McCrae Acuff. They're just cutting down half the forest today. I'm not sure if any of this is going to be good. John Acuff wrote a book called Soundtracks, which my husband and I were reading with some friends of ours. And it's talking about all the soundtracks that we have playing in our head. And then he rewrote the book with his 2 daughters and named it Your New Playlist, and just used some younger vernacular and more, I would say, youth-focused stories. And his daughters wrote it more from their perspective and how they use the soundtracks in their head, or what soundtracks plague younger people versus adults. Apparently a lot of people asked him when he wrote soundtracks, do you have a version for teenagers? And he acquiesced and had his girls help him write one for a younger audience. And like I said, I read it to my kids as part of our homeschooling, and it led to some fun discussions about things that turn up your dial and down your dial, and we were laughing about that. A great read. So for the month of April, I have quite the lineup. I am already in the midst of 2 audiobooks, and it's getting crazy. April's bookshelf challenge word is flowers, and I have an audiobook that I am doing with some other booktubers online. Before I Called You Mine by Nicole Deese is the audiobook that I'm doing with a book club online. And the flowers, there's flowers on the cover, so it will satisfy that one. I hope you'll share with me in the comments below what you're reading. If you have any suggestions for me, I'd love that. Thank you.